There we are, VB. It's VB MMA picks for UFC Fight Night. Strickland versus Magomedov on Saturday, July 1st from the Apex here in Las Vegas. VB will preview 3 fights this week, plus the middleweight bout between Strickland and Magomedov. You got a special guest for us this week. We're going to preview 3 fights. VB, how's it going?
Yeah, I mean, this card is, it's going well, but this card seems to be getting, less attention than usual, to be honest. It's kind of flying under the radar, but I think this card is pretty good for betting. And I have, decent amount of plays here. I think there are some live dogs, and um, I think this card is gonna be fun, to be honest. I see a lot of finishes here, so I'm pretty excited overall, and yeah, let's get another winning week going. Last week we went 2-1 on the show. Week before the 3-0. So let's get another winning slate here. And we have a great guest, Prodigy MMA, one of the better MMA handicappers on Twitter. And he's been having a good year too. I think he's been up. I think this year he's been doing well. I think last card he did really well, unlike me. So, what's up, Prodigy?
Oh, VP, go ahead. Prodigy,
Hey, it's good to be here. I appreciate you inviting me on the show. This card is flying under the radar a little bit, but there's definitely some spots to take advantage of, and I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, and we'll preview that main event too with Strickland and Magomedov. And well, maybe we'll have less of a beatdown than last week, but hey, who doesn't love a good beatdown once in a while? Thanks to Josh Emmett for taking the abuse and giving us a little bit of entertainment. Let's get into it, VB, with 3 fights, including that main event. We're going to start with the ladies on this preliminary card. Everything is on ESPN Plus this Saturday night. So let's talk about these featherweights. We'll start with Yana Santos, the 33-year-old Russian, formerly Kunitskaya, you might remember from back in the day, a couple headliners in the other promotions. But Santos is 14-7, 4-4 in the UFC, off of a pair of losses, but only one recent, right, guys? The loss to Holm back in March by unanimous decision. She did lose to Aldana back in our previous bout, which was way back in 21. That was by TKO. We'll get the lowdown on Santos with Prodigy here, taking on 28-year-old fellow Brazilian, though, let's call it Carol Rosa. She's 16-5, 5-2 in the UFC. She's lost 2 of her last 3, including the unanimous decision loss to Dumont in April. I will throw Santos in the Brazilian camp, of course, Thiago's wife. So what do you have here? Prodigy featherweight, Santos and Rosa.
Yeah, this fight's at featherweight, I believe, because Rosa's coming in on 2 weeks' notice. I don't think she could make the bantamweight limit. They're trying to get rid of the featherweight division right now, I believe. So this is going to be a rare 145-pound fight. Rosa, she's tough. She's got decent striking. She can mix it up with her wrestling. She can also get put on her back if the other girl has decent wrestling. Yana Santos, obviously she's married to Thiago Santos. She just had a kid, I believe 14 months ago. So you don't love to see that, but she's coming off that Holly Holm loss, probably one of the worst performances of her career. She got taken down 4 times and dominated on the mat, which you don't like to see against a 41-year-old striker. She got knocked out by Aldana before that with a big lead left hook. She just came out like a berserker in that fight, trying to throw a bunch of kicks and really just leaving her head out there to be clipped. She loves trying to force the clinch and just make it a cage wrestling battle or try to get on top and use her top game. But she can struggle to do that if the other girl doesn't allow her to hold her on the fence. She can really struggle at range. She's very hittable. Carol Rosa, she does have a good striking game. She's got a nice right hand, but the Dumont fight that she's coming off a loss, she was able to be held against the cage for extended periods of time. It was a rough look. She dominated the third round, but she clearly dropped the first two, just wasting time with her back against the fence. She had an okay performance against Lena Landsberg. She used an illegal knee to the head, got a point taken away. She got dropped in the first round there. Wasn't a great look despite winning the fight. But I look at this fight, it should be, honestly, in my opinion, close to a pick 'em. These girls, this has greasy split decision written all over it. These girls are fairly similar. Rosa should have the striking and hand speed advantage, but I believe Santos can get this fight in her realm, force the cage grappling, maybe even land a takedown or two. And I think there's some value on her decision line at plus 225.
VB, obviously the move to Santos has moved pretty dramatically from an opener. Probably I saw as high as 250 at one offshore book, 210 at another, and for the most part, I think on the U.S. books maybe opening around this number, and still a move to Santos. So here was suggested if I got the read right from Beach Bum, Santos out here cashing checks, but obviously the move is on Santos. So what evens this one up for you?
Yeah, like Parage you mentioned, like these girls fight kind of similarly. I mean, if you look at like Rosa, she's always against the cage, she's always grappling, and usually that happens when she doesn't want to really grapple. So people just put it against the cage, and she just tries to like somehow win the cage battle. Instead, she should be in the middle of the octagon striking, but she never follows the game plan as well as she should, And sometimes when it doesn't go her way, she seems to be like slowing down or mentally just saying, I can't win this or something. Because in her corner, it's always like fights going on, like, oh, go, do this and that. And she seems to be like sometimes not be fully there. And here, like you're thinking, no, like Rosa seems like a better fighter. Like she maybe has more power and more like overall like finishing ability, but then you like see this fighter and it's like one good performance, then couple really questionable fight IQ moves in almost every fight, and then you are laying minus 190. So do you want to lay minus 190 on Carl Rosa? I don't know. I don't think so. I think Yana Santos is like similarly built fighter. Like they're both grapplers, like not grapplers, but like as Paji said, against the cage, they do their work. Especially Yana, she just goes head first and puts people against the cage. So, um, yeah, like Shady is saying, dog or pass. Yeah, I mean, I can see why people would say that because I agree with them. I think Santos also needs this win. Like she lost 2 fights back to back, so if she loses this, she could be out of the UFC. And I think UFC is giving her pretty winnable fight here. Rosa seems to be not fully committed, at least for what I see. I get why Yana would ask for like, cage weight or upper weight class fight, but I don't get why Kel Hosa would ask for one. I get with Yana, she was pregnant, she had a baby and all that, but why is Kel Hosa asking for a 145 fight? Because she has missed weight before, and I think she's not fully committed. So I think this line is. I should be. I think it's off. I think it's like 50-50 fight, to be honest. You know, I don't see why somebody would do like 70%, say 65 to 70% range here. Like I just don't know. There is no upside on Carol Hosta at this line. And Santos is like, I think physically she could be stronger too. Like I'm not sure the Carol Hosa is like strong enough at 145, especially. So I don't know. Yana has, I think, small reach advantage. I could be wrong, but yeah, overall, pretty close fight in my opinion. So I'm gonna go with the dog. Plus 150, 160, whatever you guys have. I think it's pretty good. Up until like plus 110, 120, I think it's playable. As I said, 50-50 fight. So yeah, small value even it's like plus 120. Yeah.
Like Prodigy said, basically said, he has it closer to a pick 'em, and you see that move this week, and that total, guys, would indicate a 75% chance to go over. So that seems almost like a lock, but who wants to lay $3? But still, this one doesn't go the distance. Everybody be surprised, Prodigy?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the Santos decision line at 225.
Okay.
In a fight that's extremely favored to go to decision, you're getting another 65 cents on the line. I just think there's a ton of value there.
Yeah, even more now. Like this line is moving down, so even more than 65. So I think I don't mind decision. It's more likely Yana decision, but some people actually I saw were taking Rosa by sub. I mean, plus 900 is not a bad look, I guess, but just want to put it out there. I think that's kind of life, to be honest. If Rosa is improving because she's young and she maybe is still improving, she could have good showing here. She's 28, so that's possible. But I don't think Yana should be this a big of a favorite. Like she has a win over like Killian Vieira. Like I would say Killian Vieira is better than Kyle Rosa. That is for me. So I can see similar fight here. When there's few takedowns, both sides. Somebody ends on top. Somebody gets reversed. Somebody gets tired. And it could be very very close fight. But probably split decision. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the dog.
Yeah, thanks to everybody, all your regulars, VB, visiting in the chat this week. Appreciate you guys for joining us. All right, let's get into the next one here. We're going to go to welterweights. Interesting one here with Max Griffin, the 37-year-old from Southern California, now fighting out of Sacramento. He's 19-9, 6-7 in the UFC. That doesn't begin to tell the story with Max Griffin, though. He's won 4 of his last 5, guys. He's off a split decision win. Surprise, surprise, over Means last October. It's interesting to note that was his 4th split decision fight result, if you will, in his last 9 fights. Max gives you your money's worth, going up against Michael Morales, a 24-year-old Ecuadorian, 14-0, but just 2-0 in the UFC. He was last seen back in July of last year, beating Fugit in a 3rd-round knockout. VB, I get what, VB, we got an undefeated fighter. Let's just throw him to Max.
Yeah, well, he is undefeated, but I mean, honestly, I was high on Morales after Trevor Giles. I bet him against Trevor Giles, and he did pretty well in that fight. He got hurt earlier, but then he was able to knock Trevor Giles out. So I was impressed there. He showed some composure and power, and he was in trouble earlier, so he didn't panic or make a lot of mistakes. So I was happy with that. But then he fought Anna Fugit, and he had second round I think was close, like in that fight. I'm not even sure who won it, and then 3rd round he finds a knockout, but I thought he was gonna finish Fugit much easier than going to almost to the decision, in that fight. As far as Griffin goes, I bet him big last time against Tim Means. I don't know how the heck was that fight split decision. I gave Griffin all 3 rounds. Father, do you agree? It seems like
I took Means there. Wasn't even close to a split decision. It was a clear 30-27.
Yeah. So you exactly. So like I bet him, and I was like, when I heard split, I was like, maybe something is happening. There's no way this fight is split. And the last judge had 30-27, so I knew it was Griffin. But yeah, it was whatever. I mean, he got the win, and before that, I think he probably won that fight too against Magni. He dropped Magni, and he definitely lost the last round. But there was a case he won. He was 2-1. Griffin, he could be on a 5-fight win streak here. It's 4-1, last 5 still good. But guy is getting older at this point. Like he's 37 now. He's been knocked. Like he's been in some tough fights before, like fights where he got dropped many times, or he's been stopped by strikes too, by Kennedy, by Colby. In some of those fights, like he got really hurt. He survived, but he's been wobbled and he's been in wars. And also age is, big here. Like Morales is 13 years younger than Griffin. That's a huge stat. Um, you know, the kind of age gap usually doesn't end well for older guys. But after when I first saw this fight, I thought Morales was gonna be around 200 favorite. That's where he is. Line is getting up and up. And I agree with it because I think the age gap is huge, and overall, Morales seems to have just more things. He has reach advantage too here. He has, I think, more power than Max Griffin. And as far as wrestling goes, that's where I'm kind of worried a little bit. I'm not sure that Morales can, like, not out wrestle Griffin, but I'm not sure that he can't lose a round, or maybe get robbed. Nowadays judges score damage, I know, over control time, but you never know. Like it changes all the time. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing in 1 week, another thing another week, so it's kind of hard to know. So it's like I'm gonna pick Morales, but I like some more props in this fight. I think Morales 2-3 is probably not bad. Morales round 2 is plus 700. I don't mind that. 3, I think 1,000. So I kind of like that. It's not easy to knock, Max Griffin out in the first round. So far never been done. So I can see this fight extending. So if Morales finds a finish, I think it's earlier, round 2 or 3. So I would play those props, maybe sprinkle them, because this line is close to inaccurate.
It's been a long career, up and down career for Max Prodigy. Sometimes it feels like he fights up to his competition when he's a dog and gives you a disappointing. I guess that's why we've seen some of those mixed results, those split decisions. Sometimes we knew, sometimes we didn't. Sometimes one time we were shocked. So what's the story here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good fight between a young up-and-comer, hungry 24-year-old kid against an old vet, 37-year-old. Griffin, I think he's really got an underrated chin. The only time he got finished by strikes was Colby in his debut. And that was just ground and pound. Other than that, he's never been knocked out. He's been knocked down once against Morono. He took an ungodly beating in that fight, similar to like Marvin Vittori, and he still didn't get knocked out. I really do like this kid Morales. I took him against Fugit. I took him round 3 decision, and I took him against Officer Giles as well. But Max Griffin, I do think he's getting a little disrespected here. He comes to fight every time. He's going to give you an honest 15 minutes, and he's going to scrap. He's got a piston of a right hand. He's got a decent jab. He's going to try to bank on his wrestling in the later rounds. Morales is very similar. This should be a boxing match for the most part in the first 2 rounds. I think later on it might develop into a bit of grappling. But these guys, it's just 2 similar fighters. One is younger, one's older. And one guy's got a plus 200 tag next to his name. Super durable. I looked at a prop here as well. I like the plus 3.5 for Max Griffin, sitting at minus 150 right now. I do think he banks at least 1 round. I'm thinking he gets round 3, leans on his wrestling there. And I'll have a bit of his money line too. I definitely think there's some value. He's a tough fighter. He's got great cardio. I think there's definitely some value on the dog here.
All right, BB, a little bit of conflict of opinion, but man, look at the intrigue of the fight itself. BB, I'm not gonna classify Prodigy here as a square, but I mean when Joe Average comes to look at this fight and wants to bet it on Friday night, sure he might see that 14-0, but he might also be swayed by the excitement that Griffin brings each and every fight. So. Can you consider Morales at this price the sharp side, VB, or is it just too much of a conflict between Griffin, the scrappy veteran, and Morales? Still, would you say unknown?
Yeah, I mean, there is no doubt that Max Griffin has faced better level of fighters. I mean, in the UFC, he faced like Colby Covington. I mean, guys fighting for a title next. So definitely, like he faced much better fighters than Morales has. So honestly, like I'm not gonna lay this price on Morales. So for me, honestly, I agree with Prodigy that I think Morales is a deserved favorite. But if it gets too crazy, like let's say it gets 300, 350, then there may be some value in Griffin. So I will keep an eye on this line, you know. But I still don't mind round 2 and 3 props for Morales here. I think it's live, and I don't think Morales really can finish to be like in the first round. He takes time, you know, especially the last couple of fights. Definitely took time. Um, I don't forget fight was third round. Trevin Giles didn't take time there, but you know, it was a crazy fight from the beginning. It was in the pocket and exchanging, you know, so it was different kind of pace, I think, than this is gonna be, you know. I see like a sparring kind of fight early here. So I mean, I would say it's a Togor pass, but as far as pick goes, I mean Morales, I think it's at least 65%. So I'm gonna go with him.
And it can be all about those props. And with more
Mm.
than looks like a half a dozen bouts this week with a $2 favorite, you're going to want to get VB's pick package for this week. You can follow VB MMA picks on Twitter, slide into his DMs, and pick up this weekend's fight card package. There's 12 bouts, 16 plays, including more than half of them are props this week. VB, of course, you do have a big 5-unit play, and if you get VB's long-term packages, when you slide into his DMs and talk to him directly, you might want to get on long-term with VB, because you could add his one of his fights at a much better price than you could this week. So, VB, how do they get in touch with you? And what do you have this week for us? Fight package for UFC Fight Night, Strickland and Magomedov.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short and simple. So if you wanna get my place, there's a link description, you know, down below on YouTube. You can go there, pixie.com, or hit me up on Twitter. As far as this week goes, I have like a lot of plays, and I have max play. And there's an interesting thing with this max play. You know, if I lose, I promised whoever buys this card the rest of the year for free. I'm very confident that this max play is gonna cash. So maybe you want to get on this play, maybe not. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think this is the you know this is the play that I think has like highlight real knockouts coming up. So we'll see what happens. You know, it's some people disagree with me. I know some sharp people are on the other side, but again, if I lose, you get my picks for free rest of the year. You know, so consider it, I guess.
You'll spend less on the VB's fight card than you will on the pizza and beer this week. So get in
Yeah.
touch with VB. He doesn't have a customer service department. He is the customer service department. You'll speak to VB directly for this week's fight card, UFC Fight Night, Strickland and Magomedov. Prodigy, going to get to that main event here in just a minute, but we see your Twitter handle up there. Where can we find you, and what do you got going in preparation for this week's card?
Yeah, you guys can find me over at Prodigy MMA on Twitter. Just follow me there. You can follow me on Bet MMA Tips. That's my tracking site. A lot of good content I put out. Try to do some free plays as well. So check it out.
All right, VB, let's get into it now with Prodigy, and we'll talk about this main event for Saturday night with middleweights. Sean Strickland, the 32-year-old from North Carolina, currently fighting out of Anaheim. He's 26-5, 13-5 in the UFC. Has 2-fight losing streak snapped with a unanimous decision win over Imavov back in January. And the losses before that were to Cannonier and to Pereira. So a pretty good resume despite those losses. He had won 6 straight. Remember, before that, as he made his climb up the ranks, he'll be taking on 32-year-old Dagestani Abus Magomedov, 25-4-1, but just 1-0 in the UFC. Won his promotional debut last September, the second round KF knockout of Stolzfus. His last loss was way back in 2018 in a PFL bout, but has only won 3 fights since. So somewhat inactive. I think we talked about it in his debut as well. So this one opened as high as $1.80. Prodigy now probably $1.55 or even lower, and the total is moving slightly higher. Oh, we got you, brother? Looks a little frozen. VB, you with me?
Fighter.
Oh, we got you.
Yeah, you lost me for a second there.
Start over, Prodigy. Go ahead. We got you. We got your audio. You're good now. You're good.
All right. Yeah, Abus Magomedov, it's his second fight in the promotion, unranked. They're giving him a main event here, a huge spot. UFC definitely trying to push him against Sean Strickland. I mean, 18 fights in the UFC, and they automatically just give a guy with his second fight a main event. So he might feel a little disrespected here. Sean Strickland, we all know how he's going to come out and fight. He's going to try to walk you down with his boxing combos. Doesn't throw many kicks, doesn't do much else, but he's going to keep it in a, 2x2 pocket, and you guys are just going to throw down. Abus Magomedov, he's a pretty creative striker. He's got nice kicks. He's long as hell. He can definitely give a lot of people problems in the division. But he's, by the last name, a lot of people think he's going to come out here and just put on a wrestling clinic. He had a submission a couple fights ago. People think he's just going to be, your classic Dagestani, Khabib, Islam. But he actually prefers to strike. He will bank on his wrestling, especially later in fights if he doesn't feel comfortable on the feet. Strickland, he's got a decent grappling game, even though he never shows it outside of that Uriah Hall fight. But he's very competent. I think this is a good fight. It definitely should be entertaining. I think I'm going to go with the vet here in Strickland, especially with his line coming down. I think I saw as low as -138. There's a little value there for me. I think Abus has had problems in the past with people pressuring him, walking him down. In the Umulatov fight in PFL, he definitely did not like that guy pressuring him. He did impress me against Sadabusi, put on a good wrestling clinic there, showed some good toughness and good grit late in the fight. But Sean Strickland's been in 4 main events here, 4 or 5 rounders so far in the UFC. He's got a lot of experience. He knows how to use his cardio in these 5 rounders. Even in his last fight, he came right off the couch, 204 pounds, still went all 5, and he was pushing forward for every second of that fight. I do think this fight could end inside the distance. It's nice plus money. I really think one of these guys will fall. And I think Sean Strickland gets a knockout here. Despite everybody thinking he's a decisionator, I think he'll do, death by 1,000 cuts like he did to Brendan Allen, just accumulation and put this guy out maybe in round 3 or round 4.
VB with Strickland and Magomedov here. Look, I was the one whining last week. I mean, what these UFC and their self-published rankings got Magomedov coming in here doesn't even have a ranking. Of course, he just had the one fight, and Strickland has a number 7 ranking, but Magomedov, solid favorite here in this one. Go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, he doesn't have a ranking. He doesn't have a Wikipedia page. It's kind of crazy that this guy's getting main event spot, but
Hey, we know who these Dagestanis are.
I guess. But it's still like when I saw this, like I was surprised. I don't know who wouldn't, to be honest. Like I think everybody was. There is something that we don't know maybe here. Like that's what I'm thinking. Like UFC like this guy, and they're giving him main event or top 10 guy. Like it was. I don't know, man. It was not like weird, but it was unexpected at least, because I don't think that you can win one fight over a guy who is 1-4, I think, in the UFC and get to main event, even though it was a very good highlight reel front kick finish, But do I think like this guy is a good fighter? Like, sure, like, but I'm not sure that he's top 10. I mean, I don't know. So for like I watched his other fights, like earlier ones, like PFL fight in Saribu C. First round, it was kind of kickboxing kind of pace. Second round, he took him down. And two judges gave him 30-27, and I think one gave him like 29-28. But it was overall pretty good win over Saribu C, aged pretty well. We saw what Saribu C did last week. Shout out to him with the will kick knockout. And yeah, nice win there. But besides that one, like I don't see anybody who's good. Like I'm looking at this record. I don't recognize any great names, any UFC. Like some of them, I guess, are the UFC level because they fought in the UFC, but they've been cut from the UFC because of the losses. And Mualato, for example, is the one. And then he got knocked out by Louis Taylor, who won a tournament and then retired. So we haven't seen Louis since. That fight is not saying much. He got caught early with left hook, and he got put to sleep. I have to disagree with Prodigy here. I don't know if Sean can get a knockout. I think he could get a knockout, but I think it's less likely than like I don't know. I think it's 30% outcome for him. Out of his win equity, I would say 30% is knockout, 70% decision. So I don't know if the line gives me enough on the KO line, on him, but Sean Strickland is like a pretty good fighter. I bet him against Imavov. I even bet 2.5 over in that fight. He was like -200 for some reason. He went full distance. We broke the fight down, by the way, on the show, I think. And yeah, I kind of know what to expect from Sean Strickland at this point. He comes forward, he stands there, throws a lot of shots, he throws volume, which is always a good thing. So usually he's a minute winner in most of these fights. As far as like other skills go, though, he never wrestles. Like Paji said, he has good wrestling and good takedown defense, but he never actually goes for a takedown. If ever was a time to go for a takedown, it was in a Pereira fight, and he was banging when Pereira got knocked out. So I don't think he will wrestle here either. I think it's gonna be mostly standing fight. I'm not sure about over under. I mean, I'm kind of lean under, to be honest, because I think if Abus wins, it's also by finish. Most likely, guy has I think 20 finishes in 25 fights, so he's a finisher. So yeah, I think under is not bad. I think Abu's money line is where I'm gonna end up probably. I think it's again. I think there is some kind of upside on him here if he gets a finish. I think he could win a decision too. Like the decision line is kind of plus 550, 600. I think they're too high. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Abus. I can see a fight where it's kickboxing. Abus has a lot of kicks in his arsenal, and freaking Sean Strickland never checks a kick ever. So I can see a game plan where Abus comes here and kicks his leg off and use his job, and maybe even gets a takedown. Maybe like gets his back like he did against Saribusi, So he could bang 3 rounds here. I wanna be shocked, So I'm gonna take him at plus 150, 140 line. It could be 50-50 kind of fight, sparring pace. If it's not sparring pace, then I think more likely Abus is gonna get a finish as well. So I'm gonna take him here, but it's not gonna be it's gonna be probably sweaty if it's decision because it's probably like split decision if it gets done. Um, yeah. Again, I'm surprised that um, UFC is giving this guy this chance. Maybe they know something we don't also because this guy has been inactive. Like he lost to Taylor and then he came back and fought the guy who was on 3 or something, and then he got to UFC. So it was like you know questionable like main event spot. Maybe it was more like politics thing. Maybe somebody didn't accept the fight or something. I heard some. I heard Sean say someone declined the fight. I don't remember who it was. Maybe, and they gave Magomed the spot. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
I don't know. Was there? I thought this was an original schedule, but what kind of do you know what kind of dynamics are going on? Prodigy. Here's the thing. I'm teasing. I can't broad brush last week. Making fun of Tapuri is ranked, of course, below Emmett, and blew him out of the water with nobody's ever seen 50-42, right? Everybody's making fun of that and everything. But here you do have Magomedov, unranked by the organization, yet they're willing to put him out there in a main event. That's my only argument here. Come clean a little bit. Yeah, you don't want to disrespect anybody by putting this guy up higher over all those great fighters in the division, if you will. I don't know if they're all great, but still a long list of veterans that have paid their dues in the organization. But I don't know, anytime you get, these Dagestan fighters, they are pretty hot. There's a little bit of mojo to the aura that they bring right now. Am I just being square?
No, they're definitely trying to push this guy. He's coming off a viral knockout against Dustin Stolfus.
19 seconds, yeah. Should we forget to mention, right?
Yeah. But yeah, they definitely, the UFC wants this guy to win. Sean Strickland's kind of muddy in the division, beats some guys, loses to some guys. Instead of making Strickland versus Paulo Costa, they did Strickland versus Magomedov, and they did Paulo Costa versus unranked Alaskarov. So they're trying to clear out these old guys out of the division, is what I'm gathering from it. Personally, I'm not a fan. I would rather Strickland versus Costa, but this is a good fight. It's definitely going to be entertaining, and I'm excited to see it. And shout out to Lewis, put the guns down Taylor, for knocking out Abus Magomedov for the PFL $1 million. One of the best knockouts ever.
Agree.
And VB, for Magomedov to come up through in this situation. I mean, we've talked about the Dagestani fighters here, over the months, if you will. But the resume for Strickland still does have to stand out a little bit. I'm sure that's why he earned the spot.
Yeah, Strickland is kind of guy that's like he's gonna. I don't know if he's gonna ever be a champion with this style. Like he's very hittable in my opinion. Sometimes in some fights, his leg kicks, he just can't deal with leg kicks, man. That's like his biggest problem, I think. He has good defense on the feet as far as like boxing goes, but his front leg is there to be like kicked anytime, So I don't know. I hope Abus takes advantage of that. But yeah, I guess Strickland is still top 10. His resume is very good, but I agree with Prodigy. I think even in lightweight, welterweight, they're trying to bring new guys in. Like top 5 in lightweight, welterweight has been the same for forever. You know what I mean? So they're trying to bring the new faces here and give them shots. I guess with Aliskerov Costa, a similar fight there. Like Aliskerov had one fight in the UFC, gets a knockout over a guy who has no chin, and gets a fight Costa. So it's similar thing there. So we'll see what happens. As far as that fight goes, I'm not sure I'm gonna have newcomer like here, but yeah, we'll see. Thank you, Prodigy, for coming on. It was fun. This week again, this guy is not very popular. Some of these fights are flying under the radar, but I think it's very, very good card, to be honest. I think a lot of finishes are coming, so make sure to check it out and also like, subscribe. We don't say it enough, We almost win every week. We don't say this. Like,
I have
subscribe.
one job, VB, and I can't even get it right.
Yeah. So what's going on, Raymond? So get the like button in, and subscribe too. And we're gonna keep hopefully bringing you winners. So let's get this sweep. Again.
Well, one thing I will do, shout out all the people in our live chat this week. Beach Bum, Seymour, Dixon was in there.
Yeah.
David was in there as well. Want to also thank,
Thank you, guys.
a few others, GDS, Mushroom in there as well. Rob Lawrence, appreciate you guys stopping by the live show. All right. VB, great. Thank you. Great job. Great job to Prodigy. Appreciate him stopping in for a preview of this week's card, UFC Fight Night between Strickland and Magomedov on Saturday, July 1st from the Apex in Las Vegas on ESPN Plus this Saturday night. Go ahead and contact VB, slide into his DMs, get his fight package for Saturday night's card. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Great job for Prodigy MMA and VB MMA Picks. I'm Ramon Scott. Thank you for joining us.